Hello, and welcome back to Horseshoe Theory. It's been a while since we've had a debate on this channel, and we have two very interesting characters who have been by the studio recently. Actually, you're here partially because he's here, right?
Partially.
And you guys wanted to meet. And these two characters, they have a long, storied history, which I've been keeping up with by scrolling down your Substacks. And you're a very vicious critic of him. So we've just did a podcast with Kenneth, Deep Left Analysis. So why don't we begin? Do you want to give an introduction for who you are, Quentin, the book club?
Yeah, I'm a cookie cutter chud. I could practically just replace myself with a machine full of chud talking points and there would be zero difference. I am anti-immigration, total aporous world of pure border, zero motion. Everyone should just stay where they are and procreate in a nice nuclear family, and Christ is king? Is that Christ is king.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Yeah, so, the very format of a debate, of course, we're going to have these guys play a little bit of, characters representing different ideas. And so you can see that he's balking against the trend with the first sentence that comes out of his mouth. You're like, no, I don't want to fit in this box. But unfortunately, that's how it's got to be. And what is you do your introduction, and also what's your general, immigration take?
Cut them up, put them in a box, ship them everywhere. I don't care. Get them everywhere. I want to mix them all together, mix them up. No families, nothing nuclear about it. Just total atomized individuals, sticking things in all kinds of... We'll make new holes for people to stick things into because we don't need to procreate, because we don't need to make babies. We already got enough Africans. Just replace everybody with that.
Yes. So when we were talking to Deep Left, he was sort of sketching out his ideal society, and it's like one white guy, one black guy, one Asian guy, and there's just an equal mix. There's no majority. It's all minority groups. And like, how does that grok to you? Why isn't that a desirable society?
It just, like, I don't know I'm not someone who thinks about anything politically, but as the instant I hear that, I just feel this unending rage that comes from the center of my core, my balls even. It rises up, and I want to, like, like in, what is it, Mortal Kombat, where it's like the finish, and
Split him in half?
Yeah, like seeing every single one of his organs be put in two different places.
Yikes.
But so then what then? Because if you're thinking about that and you're like, this fills me with rage, what fills you with happiness? Is it like a village of ethno-homogenous people, trading bread with each other?
Just being with you.
Just being with me.
Fills me with enough happiness. The talking, going to the cinema, to the cafe, just stuff like that. This is happiness for me. But when he speaks, it's boo.
Well,
boo.
that's all I can hope to do.
Like
so
WWE.
You also may notice that Brogan couldn't be here with us today, unfortunately. And normally he would add a much more grounding, less schizo presence to the show. So I just want to, everyone obviously has probably heard the news about what happened to Brogan recently, and it's very sad. So,
R.I.P.
But if Brogan was here, he probably would say this idea of like a happy village where everyone's kind of like in unison with each other and they all have stuff in common with each other. He would he's like masturbated to the idea of that before.
But look, the real political distinction is between people who give a fuck about these kind of conversations and people who don't. And the people who give a fuck, they are the clankers. They are the ones who are willing to reduce themselves, enter into a kind of mass homogenized packaging, like a mass consumption of their own thinking. They're like opening up free space for like, what is it, public use, when the guy's like turning around and ready to just have anyone at his fucking asshole. That's what you're doing to your brain when you engage in any form of political punditry or discussion about politics. And that's a caveat that I'm just going to put out there.
I think that's a fair caveat. But then you have to.
And now I have to go, all right, back into the single-dimensional world. Why do people jack off about, the little green knoll on the hill and the beautiful stream and your wife who isn't wearing footwear, I believe, and she's got like 7 kids. I think it's, that maybe there's some sort of like sense of, maybe it's just ingrained in our souls that is a good thing, and there's nothing that we can, no amount of intellectualizing, no amount of getting raped by new forms of epistemes and all this kind of stuff can change the fact that we really just want to be next to a stream, chilling out while our kids are running around.
And is there any chart for the soul?
The soul chart. Let's consult the soul chart. See what the soul chart says.
What does the graph say about if it being imprinted on my psyche to feel rage?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like I just want to go all the way. Like, I think that I think this society actually does kind of suck in the way that Quentin's describing. That we're deprived of all these like instinctual, intuitive, unspeakable, unarguable needs and necessities. And, stopping immigration is like not going to address that at all. It's not going to reverse that process. It's not going to unrape people. Once you've been raped, and there's no unraping. So I think I just like to do the full thing. I just like to say, let's go through this process. Clearly it's happening. Clearly there are demonic forces or whatever that want this thing to happen. And sometimes you just got to ride that through. You got to go through it. Because I don't think anyone's actually serious about stopping this. I mean, I think a lot of people, maybe they're jacking off to the fantasy. They don't want to live in the fantasy. Like, there are very few people. I speak of this as someone who like moved to Hawaii to do organic farming and tried to start a commune and went on the internet. I was like, guys, we need to get off the internet and get on the farm again. I did that. I did that in real life. I put all my money into that. And it totally failed because I'm not that guy, as Quentin described me so eloquently in my pose and my mannerisms, on some physiognomic level. I'm not that guy. And most people aren't that guy. Even Quentin, although he claims to be the chuddiest of chuds, I don't think he's even that guy, And so I think most of the guys who are out there saying, like, they're not even fetishizing the grassy knoll with the stream. They're fetishizing the guy who fetishizes the grassy knoll in the stream. And they want that guy. That. Yeah, it's a little bit too meta, and so it's not happening. So what is happening is this kind of total destruction of the world, and I think we need to see that through.
As someone who's more, I mean, you seem very nihilistic in some ways about politics and like even like bothering with the semiotic exchange of ideas, blah 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 blah. But is there like even a world where could you imagine reversing some of the shitty trends that you think have happened due to immigration, finding some meaning again, or is it too late and we're in this like wretched black-pilled fucking fallen Chungus world?
No, I think a lot of these things will be reversed as the 21st century continues. I think that we could take a lot of but kind of my genuine thoughts on this is that we could take a lot of inspiration from indigenous land laws that are being laid out in the North American continent and how apply these things to Europe. You could take large swathes of territory in the British Isles and you could just say that this has to be white native British owned, and it's not a sort of sign for racism. This is just an attempt at conservationism. It's like the equivalent to making a national park.
Right.
You just make the equivalent for a particular ethno.
Can't honkies have a little sliver? Just a little sliver.
They can have a big fat gay sliver. I mean, that is.
I like that.
I mean, look, yeah, people like to be little hobbits, and I mean, there are reservations in America, and you know what? They work. You know what? There's Native Americans living on those reservations.
The one indigenous person in the room is giving a big thumbs down. But
I say they work, and the indigenous people are always like, no, they don't work. And it's like, well, the purpose of a system is what it does, and reservations produce these frozen little slivers of stagnancy, and it's not cool, and it's not epic, and it's not exciting. And there's nothing even honorable about that.
All right, but so you would just get rid of parks?
Parks?
Yeah, because you're saying, so a park is a morsel of stagnancy. It's a territorial remit that is preserved from capitalism, preserved from development, preserved from the machinations of some kind of geopolitical reality, which means that you have to constantly make more stuff in order to pay for your military or whatnot, right? You would get rid of parks, you would get rid of everything that wasn't like functional for some kind of like arch globalist image in your head, because parks are good. I mean, parks make you feel good, right?
This is the opposite. So a park is, you're taking nature, which is this violent, tumbling, dynamic thing.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna start killing you.
Like an old married couple.
You want nature? I'm gonna just get naked and
Let's
eat you.
fucking do
it.
Well, are you taking issue with the fact that he's drawing like a nature civilization divide?
No. I mean, I think
Because it's not. All parks are just civilization. In fact, they're more civilized than a lower form of civilization.
So I think so conservation I would distinguish from parks, and I agree with you that like Central Park in New York or whatever. It's like parks.
Lovely, eh?
Oh, you like?
Well, I've never been, but I hear it's lovely. Is it?
Yeah.
Ish.
I actually prefer like wildlands, like Yellowstone or something, or Zion National Park. Like I do think that there's something beautiful about a pristine wild, even a dangerous nature. Like there's grizzly bears and there's buffalo and you could get killed. And you see these videos of people trying to pet the buffalo and then the buffalo like gores them with their horns.
Indeed.
I think that's epic and I think that's awesome.
More of that.
I want more of that, but I don't think that reservations of any kind have that spirit to them. And so that's why I think you're being honest with what you're saying, but I just think if you like take that to its logical conclusion, if you actually like believe in the blood and soil, like there is something perverse about cordoning off or like allowing these people like to live in their natural habitat, because we aren't like animals in nature. You can just like cordon off an area and it will just be itself, but you can't cordon off humans because we have this psychology and we're aware that we're in a reservation, and that changes the nature of the game. Like the Native Americans who are in that reservation are not the Apache of old. They have a different self-conception, a different identity. It's the reservation identity, and so that's what I object to.
I think that the reservations wouldn't be merely a sort of residual pocket of white people. I think it would just be an attempt to even the playing field, whereby if you were to bring about this globalist reality, you would have reservations in every single country dedicated to a particular indigenous group, whereof that group could always find a homogeneity within their own kind of genotype or phenotype or something like that. The problem being is that when you implement your levels of immigration, you would have to consistently regulate levels of birth rates within particular populations. You would have to cull certain amounts of a certain population if it grew too large. Otherwise, it would lead to lumpiness. It would lead to this problem, which is your dream of globalism is like a Western, individualistic, Anglo-spherically sort of engendered dream of a flat regulation, and it isn't something that would just emerge innately if every single historical process in the world continues. It's very much a weird concept of how territory is supposed to work. It's highly liberal, and for that reason, yes, it has this sort of moral glow to it, because you just kind of you're playing sort of like an epic post-Christian. You're saying like everything's fine, we can all come together, and we should all come together and just create some big mesh and merge and just a big muddy whatever, and everything will be fine. But what will end up happening is you'll have ethnic conflict that you'll be importing in from other fucking parts of the globe. You may even have one ethnic group completely taking over and then implementing their own form of kind of the ethno-narcissistic violence that you see in Nazi
Canada.
Germany.
We've imported two. Brogan, you know this. We imported two groups, and these two groups, they don't like each other from their own country, and now they're fighting here. What are they? The
Sikhs and the
Indians and Indians?
Yeah, Sikhs and Hindus.
Yeah, Khalistan.
Yeah, the Khalistan stuff.
It's only big in Canada and not big in India.
Yeah.
Because diaspora predominantly identify with their ethnic group more and more the
Yeah.
further they away they get.
Yeah, and I look at this and I think, where's Whitey?
Well, Whitey's getting in on the game. Check out a guy named Nicholas J. Fuentes, and he's apparently the biggest conservative influencer under 30 in like the world, basically. So I think what's interesting is like,
but his whiteness is diaspora whiteness.
I agree.
That's a diaspora whiteness that's been created through a Negrolicious form of like white identity, completely autochthonic within the American continent, nothing else.
And it's spreading. Yeah,
because
Europe.
The American empire controls the entirety of the world. So now the American version of whiteness is getting exported to like all the other whitenesses, and we have to let go of all of our historical. Look at the British Isles, for example. The amount of imperialist violence that was inflicted on all these different weird little ethno groups on that island, and then all get kind of cobbled together and turned into a homogenous mass that gets sent to America, and then we just pretend like it never happened, right? Or even the Yugoslav war. But all this shit I don't really give a fuck about. I think that when it comes down to it, you act on, is immigration going to increase the beauty of this place, or is immigration going to increase the volatility of the state that can therefore regulate? And I think that you have a wrong assumption that immigration creates better regulative function of the state, that the state becomes healthier via immigration. When, point to the UK, for example. It's implemented mass immigration for the last 40 years. Is it getting any better? No, it's steadily getting worse. How is that a good policy? How is a globalist utopia being created in the UK? It is not. That's just de facto truth. No fucking, post-Christian, like we're all holding hands shit. Although that would be, it happens in certain places. Maybe here in Canada it can happen, and which you should also, every single time you talk about immigration, speak on it in a specific sense. Which country to where, why, at what period in time, according to what sort of ideological purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think...
But you don't.
Well...
You just go like...
And I didn't actually do that right now.
You just do that.
You can do that forever. Okay, so no, I agree that immigration has a qualitative aspect. And so obviously, no, it's not... I'm not saying like, if you... Like, the UK has been predominantly it's like Pakistani, Indian, Caribbean. It's like they have a profile. Canada has like some Persians and some Indians and Sikhs, and America has Hispanics, and now we're getting, Chinese and all these people. So every country has done different things, and it's had different outcomes, and they're qualitatively different outcomes. Like having a country that's 30% Muslim, it's very different from having a country that's 30% Buddhist. These are different cultures. They're different religions. I'm not saying that they're all interchangeable to the extent that you're going to get the same outcome. You basically
are. You're saying that if we bring all these cultures in, we eventually strip them of the things that characterizes them, and we turn them into the homogenous globo-homo blob.
The sludge, the gray sludge.
Whatever that is.
Whatever I am.
Which is like, it can work perhaps. Yes, it probably does work in certain instances, but to say that it is the manner in which the entire globe should be regulated is just insane talk. And I know that you're kind of quasi-serious. Every single time you say these things, you're basically just attempting to like cut the ankles of right-wingers who don't think hard enough about this sort of stuff. But like, I'm not that Chud, right? I'm a different kind.
You're telling...
I'm a new breed.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you're not arguing against my points. You're saying you want this global gray goo, and I don't want the global gray goo. That's not what I desire.
What other thing is going to happen if let's say we elect you as our dude, right?
Yes.
And you're in control of the motion of people around the globe. What will happen? So, what's your plan for us, the human race?
Yeah.
Go on, tell us.
All right. I'm
I'm
about to do it.
All right, do that.
Give me 30 more seconds, so I'll keep pumping myself up for this. Okay, so the deal is this, that we have a global transportation system like we've never had before. And so the potentiality for it is here. And now what you're saying is we've created this potentiality. It's very bad. And actually, we've had historical examples of migrations killing a lot of people. Indo-Europeans came in There was a plague,
Aye.
killed a lot of people. Columbian migrations killed a lot of people. Sea peoples. I mean, thousands and thousands of years separate migrations, killing people, disease, over and over again. So clearly what's happening now is you can compare it to all these previous migrations and say, oh, probably a lot of people are going to die eventually. We don't know if it's going to be disease. We don't know if it's going to be conflict. We don't know what it's going to be. But it's certainly risky. Maybe it's not even a violent conflict. Maybe it's cultural, psychological. It produces some kind of spiritual break in the human race. But I think we look at that and we accept it. We also say that each of these migrations, we eventually came out the other side, and it was good. That's the argument. It's not a global gray goo, because that's never what we got before.
No. Because the issue with this is that it's playing politics according to a binary of either you accept immigration or you don't, which isn't, I don't believe in that. It's like, you don't just say no to immigration. You don't just close off your border. You can do things at specific speeds. You can do things in particular ways. And like I'm saying in terms of the cordoning off of like reservation grounds for white people, that's just a political strategy that is provisional. It's always provisional. I understand that. For me, there's no golden period in the future that we're just racing toward, and we need to implement some kind of state regulative function that is going to bring about some utopia for the entire world. It will never exist. My issue is speaking according to this or that, black or white, like either total globalism or, total ethno-protectionism. I'm not for that whatsoever. I'm for detail and beauty and making sure that your city looks, is nice for you in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years. Make sure the right trees are planted in the right place. Make sure, that the plumbing system works. This is the stuff that matters, not creating biomass goo thing like that can just take us to the stars or some bullshit like that.
Well, I don't want to go to the stars.
Okay, well, good. I
don't like rocket ships. Mm-hmm. We have perfectly good ocean floors. We have a perfectly good Antarctic.
Here we go. This is gonna go back to the fucking thing about like, we should ship all the criminals into a big open air prison in the middle of Nevada.
The ocean floor is going to be expensive. They don't get to live on the ocean floor. They don't get to live in Antarctica. Right. So they'll get somewhere else.
They don't get who right. And all of this is under the presumption that you're in charge.
You asked me to be in charge. I'm telling you what I would do if I was in charge.
The thing is that if you're going to be in charge, you're going to come up with some random this is what the world's going to end up looking like as soon as I'm in charge, because you believe that the state functions without friction. It is inherently, the entire structure is just friction, and the impossibility of getting things done. Even within an autocratic system, even within some kind of monocratic system, it's just a ball ache. And that's why the reason we have why we have monarchy in the first place is sort of an abstraction away from an ethno group homogeneity where people are kind of all on the same page about something. And you just want to divorce everything from time and just treat the present like it's just the problematic has been solved. We just release ourselves from all of our history and we just go headlong into the future, but the future is not something that ever comes about. It's always just the rehashing of the past.
I think that you need to rip off the Band-Aid. You need to confront the forces that created these nations in the first place. There was a process of ethnogenesis by which, even before the white people, right, when it was the Celts and the Germanics and the Italics, there was a process that brought those people about, and it was a migratory process. And as those people and you could read the Aeneid, you can read the story of how these people came about in their own words, their own mythology. But as they migrated, it created that conflict that you're speaking of. And that's how these things came about. And that's how they can continue to come out in an eternal present, not a utopian future that's somehow radically different from the past, but a recursion, a cyclical process. You're talking about the friction of the state, the autocratic state. Now I want to control everything. No, I want to remove the state bureaucracy that's telling, okay, well, to get a visa, you have to do this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah, but you're still engaging in the total regulatory idea of the state. You're still saying that the state is going to arrange particular populations within certain territories.
No, that's what you're literally saying with your reservation idea. I reject that.
No. Did you not just say that you were going to have like 500 Chinese people here, 500 brown people here, 500? You want to play chemistry. You want to just titrate or, have a little... That's what you want. You want regulation.
No,
you can't
because
get rid of the state
people
via...
are racist, and they will do that by themselves. They will form a Chinatown in a black person area and a white person area. I'm not trying to intervene and make that happen. I'm saying that will naturally happen anyway.
So you're libertarian in that sense?
Yes, of course.
So you're like, let's get rid of the state. But all that means is just whoever then has the strongest geopolitical unit is going to implement their will on the rest of the earth, and then it's just going to be the same bullshit as it always was. And you don't give a fuck. Because you're like, white man, you should give up.
No.
White man, let go, and let the rest of the world fuck you.
I'm arguing for white supremacy.
Me too. Me too.
So,
Oh no!
debate is ended.
Shit.
Two white supremacists meet.
It's toast for me.
Yeah, you got pranked.
No!
Sorry.
Oh god, this is not gonna look good.
Sorry.
Both sides come out as white supremacy.
It turned out we were both white supremacists all along.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you pro white supremacy?
Okay.
Can I get a drink of water? Can I just...
Yeah, we got water around. We got a bottle back there. We got.
Yeah, get this
bottle
man some
there.
water.
You want this bottle?
Oh, no, that's it.
You want a little bottle?
Okay.
There you go.
Well, how are you in favor of white supremacy?
So it's like Quentin's saying is that, people are going to move around, and people have these identities, and they are qualitatively different. I mean, anybody who's going to tell, because again, that's it's a very myopic, petty, fearful, cowardly, colorblind conservatism that says, oh no, what do you mean? We all have equal opportunity in this country. That's clearly not true, right? There's clearly these distinctions. Now, there are people on the left who advocate for, what do they call it? The land acknowledgement. And you say, we just want to acknowledge that this land, Native Americans, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And even people on the left are getting tired of this because they're realizing you're just fetishizing these people. You're not actually changing the material conditions. Okay, we need to somehow move beyond this pettiness. And then you have the people on the right who are like, no, we could have white genocide, just do it slowly, please. Like, just do it non-violently or just whatever. And so what I'm saying is that there are these groups, and, I'm a minoritarian, meaning that I want strong minority rights. There's only one form of the state that guarantees that. That's liberalism. Okay, now you can say
this was literally my point with the reservations.
Okay, no.
That
But
was
I'm saying I don't want a state
minoritarianism.
I don't want a state enforced. I want people to have the freedom of association to do it. That's the difference, right? I don't want a state enforced.
How the fuck is that going to happen?
Have you been to Arkansas recently? Gone to the compound?
I understand that there's like 10 people who create a little compound, but that is not, to prevent...
Do you know why it's only 10 people? It's because there's been state intervention against it with the Fair Housing
And you're
Act.
against that. You think the white people should be able to organize like that if they want. And they should say no Jews, no blacks.
Absolutely, because
I'm pro that as well.
Absolutely.
Just to go on the record.
I could figure. Yeah, I figured.
This is the problem: is that when you create with the civil rights legislation, you say that nobody has private property anymore. You have to allow anyone into your business, anyone into your neighborhood. Then it nationalizes the racism, and it's all or nothing. And so that's when you get mass deportations.
Right.
Is people saying, well, I guess because I don't own my home and I don't own my business, if a Mexican comes into anywhere in the country, that's now my business. Whereas if you say, okay, look, you want to live in Appalachia, you want to live in the sticks, you want to have a racist business and deny black customers, okay, good luck. We'll see how that works out. And if it really does work out for you, well, then, I guess that means that was the best social arrangement. And if it works out terribly, then that shows you were wrong.
Really, that means you have no ideas. Because let's say it works out to the nth degree until the point that there's a white state that, is half of North America. How does that play into your lovey-dovey, cuddle-puddle, let's all get together, hold hands shit?
I have never said a lovey-dovey, cuddle-puddle, get-together shit. I have said
but
we're going through a crisis. We're going through a crisis, and it is a conflict It is making people crazy. People are going wild. And I am advocating that we have a controlled demolition of the entire world order, not a retreat, not saying let's just let the moss grow over. I'm saying, yeah, we do actually need to go through with this. And once you have that, then I think you can figure out what that looks like. And I don't think it looks like white nationalism. I don't think it looks like white
Yeah, so I think we basically agree.
All right.
Well, there we go. Because
There
I
we
think that we're both in favor of, you know, the volition of the people to decide their own future. And if that turns out to be ethno-protectionism or ethno-nationalism, then so be it. But there should also be, if there exists a part of the world that people want to come together of all different ethnicities and all, you know, and do whatever. If all the mixed kids want to go hang out in one spot, they should be allowed to. And, you know, but then at the same time, it's like geopolitics isn't a whole, oh, everyone should just be allowed to do stuff. It's an endless war that is just engaged in subterfuge and in economics. It isn't simply this, you can't just make a statement about the earth and, like, in doing so, baptize its regulation.
Yeah, so obviously geopolitics is vicious and cutthroat. And I acknowledge that. And I think that there is a danger that, for example, if we in America just said, nah, we don't want to be involved in that game anymore. We're just going to go home. We don't want to invade other countries. We don't want to supply foreign aid, cut off all the foreign aid, no more foreign wars, and close the borders too. We're just going to consolidate. In fact, you know what? Split it up into 50 different states, and Texas will be its own state, California will be its own state. We'll all be a little independent, preserve our little native cultures. And so if that happens, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a global collapse of liberalism, because who fills that vacuum? It's like, what, Russia or China or something like that. And they don't have these ideas of like, oh, everyone should just move wherever they want and we should all be happy. So really, there does need to be some teeth behind this idea, and therefore there needs to be violent enforcement of it.
So that's what you're saying, is just like entrenchment of the American empire into the whole world. Get rid of China, get rid of get rid of India, get rid of the entirety of Africa's, all of their political volition rendered naught by way of American military power, and the white man reigns supreme in a kind of strange, like, oh, but we're all winning kind of sense, when in actual fact he's just winning.
I think everybody's winning, and I think that ultimately, the reason why I don't, I give you the handshake, but I think there's something beyond the white supremacy, which is that we've.
But it's the idea of, like, is it post Christianity or is it white supremacy?
It's post white supremacy.
Yeah, it is, because white supremacy itself, like we were saying, is a historical artifact that's specifically now tied up within American imperialism and almost can be just gotten rid of. It's crazy for anyone not to be a white supremacist now, because white supremacy is so tied in with, like, silly ideas like civility and, like, democratic process. All of this stuff has become historically tied in with the white supremacist movement, and it's only when it plays out in some kind of political theater that it becomes, tied up with, like, guys with the big hoods and the death camps and shit like that. I think that white supremacy as supremacy, or like civility supremacy, law and order supremacy is just something that no one rationally disagrees with, because it's like an age of reason that's been. So it's almost tautological, a lot of the stuff that you're proposing. But in terms of, like, pushing forward the American empire, there's a question of whether or not the empire is determined by a certain, like, what is it? Kind of like it must die and ossify and petrify in a Spenglerian sense, or whether or not it's always over, and whether or not by pushing forward a certain degree of liberalism, by codifying a level of tolerance, it really just removes its fangs. There's the question of whether or not a liberal empire can even exist.
I would say it in the complete opposite way, is that there is no illiberal empire by definition, because every empire
No,
is an
and-
act of subverting the tribal distinctions that once separated political entities. And so Christianity is a great example. There shall be neither Jew nor Greek. You had earlier versions of even the Roman identity was usurping, and the Interpretatio Romana say, oh, your gods are kind of like our gods. We sort of worship the same guy, don't we? And you can go back further and further. Even the Egyptians, all of these syncretic mythologies with their pantheons, the origination of the pantheon is, well, you have your local god, this earth goddess, fertility goddess, and we kind of have this manly, masculine sky father god. What if they just fucked and made a bunch of kids? And so then we kind of have the same religion, right? So even way back, there's evidence that this is what empires do. They come together and they say, oh, we're going to be one big happy family. And there's obviously a lot of violence and oppression and slavery involved in that. But they're actually the same thing. Like, you can't disentangle these two things. So liberalism always does have fangs. There is... we are reaching a point of intellectualization where we're moving away from physical punishment into shame and into guilt, and you're going so far into it that the violence is totally psychological. It's totally spiritual. So it's like the total pacification of leftism imposed on people creates this suffocating environment where you can't be physical anymore. You can't even look at each other in the eye anymore because you're too anxious. Everybody's on fucking SSRIs, and that is the global slave prison state.
That's the goal.
That's what we have to pass
going.
through. We have to pass through that to the other side.
What's on the other side?
The other side is freedom, and it's the unknown, and it's the impossible, and that's always what ethnogenesis
But I feel
is.
that's okay. That's not a political vehicle. That's not even a political ideology. You're kind of just describing the whole unconditional accelerationism of like an American empire that really won't. You don't have a choice with regards. There's no political machination that can be done that enables the empire's entrenchment further into the globe. I feel like it's had its moment in the sun. It seems to be turning inwards, and that's part of democratic volition, and that's also to do with merely the way that these things work. And so you're saying, like, yes, liberalism, I do believe that's like the baptismal moment of an empire, but it's also the death knell. It's also the moment that the empire, it's like it's the beginnings of the entire life cycle of Caesar and Caesarism, or I don't fucking know.
That's a good that's a good concluding sort of statement here, and then I'll let you respond, and then we're gonna do some questions. So,
thank you for making my point.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying the empire's dying. You say, oh, like Caesarism, except Caesar had the greatest expansion of the empire. And so that's what we're on the cusp of. As people are in crisis and they're thinking, oh, the old republic is going away and everything's fucked and we're all dying. That's when Caesar comes out and he renews the project, and he totally transforms it as well. He totally destroys the old order, but he renews it. And so the thing isn't dead, but its particular form is in its death. There is a dying that's going on, but it's not the dying of the empire. It's the dying of that particular form of the empire. And you have to take it as far as it can go. You can't give up before the race has been run. You have to say, at some point, this thing will reach a mathematical conclusion. Nothing lasts forever.
okay, great. Well, it looks like the real horseshoe theory here was white nationalism when they shook hands. Do you guys have any questions would you like to ask? Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to sit here.
Thank you guys for that discussion.
No worries.
Is there anything from Jordan Peterson that any insights from Maps of Meaning or Jordan Peterson that could contextualize this in any way?
Well,
How is Jordan Peterson influenced?
The chaos of mass immigration is coming for us, and it's troubling. But
I'm not going to even try and do a Jordan Peterson. I'm against that.
I can't do it.
On a spiritual level,
impressions.
I won't try and do
it's
a
like
Jordan
you're
Peterson.
stealing the soul of another man. You need to become yourself. It's what
It's true,
Heidegger
though.
would have wanted.
There's probably some way of Maps of Meaning-ifying this, but for me, really what's going on is just pointless political discourse. For its own sake, it's making a video so that people at home can feel kind of ever so slightly more engaged in a false community that they're not actually involved in, until they come here. And then they will be loved by us and touched.
Yeah.
Certainly. But, I don't know. I don't see...
It's a bit of a curveball.
yeah. It's been a long time since I've even thought about Jordan Peterson. He fell off. So.
One might say, I think he has mold lung now or something like that. He was comaed for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And now
Poor guy.
now
But he was
mold
great.
lung,
Very much his early stuff was...
Yeah.
Loved his early albums. He was great.
Listen, the early albums are the best. You know, It's one might say.
Is this about immigration?
Yeah, immigration.
How is this about immigration?
It's about...
No, I was asking how can we use the...
It's the question of
teachings
brown
Dr.
people.
Jordan B. Peterson from U of T, renowned professor, to better contextualize the immigration debate.
Yeah.
You know. And I just got a bunch of fucking B2.
And I
Yeah, well, you're
did
okay.
my
Look,
Jordan
the problem is
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson
I don't
is
know.
like 110 IQ, and we're dealing with 130 IQ individuals over
Aw, thank you.
here. Wait,
That's very nice of you.
Jose,
Joe.
Aiden, do you
I'm
have
just
anything?
trying to keep 120 solid here.
Yeah. Crick, yeah. Do you have anything? Do you want to ask a question? You want to ask a question to these guys?
I wasn't really sure what the debate was about.
It's very high-minded. Okay, it's very abstract. Yeah, Aiden just said he wasn't sure what the debate was about. What?
A little too high-minded for me.
Maybe a little too high-minded. Cricket, do you have anything? Okay, well, that was a great debate, and I thought you both gave each other good room to speak. Thought this was very appropriate. Thanks for doing this. We have to cut it now because we've been starving this poor young man as he's been checking the levels and stuff. So yeah, that's been Horseshoe Theory, and now I gotta. Yeah, okay. I guess we
Let's
could
just
just
come
sort of
together.
like
Let's
cuddle
just-
puddle, eh? Yeah, you have to. And you know what? Maybe the real Horseshoe Theory was friendship after all, and white super. Okay, all right, great. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you.